Hey, have you ever been wondering what is the best business model for your digital marketing agency? Or maybe you just kind of wanted to start a digital marketing agency, but you don't know where to start. Well, today my guest, Daniero, owns a digital marketing agency, and he's going to be answering your questions, things like, why Facebook ads are not delivering, or how to get clients for your digital agency, or just even how to get your very first client. So welcome, Daniero.
Hey, how are you doing, Milena?
Good, good. Thank you so much for being on here. Okay, so to start off, why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself and your background and how you got into this digital agency world?
For sure. So I started doing Facebook ads and Shopify management back in 2012, 2013, when I used to work in Toronto for this big corporation. Then the company didn't do so well. They let go of about 2,500 people, including myself. And that's when my freelance journey started. So at the very beginning, I was having a great time, 5, 6 clients, but then I got to the point where I was working 15, 16-hour days. So we're talking about working up to midnight, then literally go to bed. I used to call them night naps because it was not even a full 7 hours. It was just, a quick nap and back up at 5 to 6 a.m. to work more. So at that point, I literally had a very, very bad panic attack. I ended up at Toronto Western Hospital for a few days because it didn't really have, even the energy, mental energy to do anything else. And that's when I knew that something had to change. I needed to hire a team and I needed to get people working on those time-consuming tasks so that I could focus on growing the business. So that's a bit of my story. Started working for a corporation, then went to freelance, and then scaled my agency.
Very cool. Wow, that's quite the story. I didn't even know that. Um, so what would you say, like, what advice would you give to somebody who is just thinking about starting a digital marketing agency, especially, in today's day and age where everything is kind of going online? Like, where would they start? How would they even get their first client?
For sure. The first thing that I tell all my coaching clients is to really niche down as much as possible. Now, some people think that the digital marketing agency world is saturated because it's been around for 5 to 6 years, this model. But it couldn't be further from the truth because more and more businesses are now realizing that they need to be online. So whether it's Facebook ads, Google ads, or anything along those lines, there's such a huge demand for digital ads and digital services in general. So the first thing that I would do is to look for a profitable niche. So that means that you would have to look at, the first off, average cost per service. So I would never go to businesses that sell small items. I would go to businesses that start selling products starting at about $50 to $100 and look at their margins. The reason why I'm saying this is because if you can find a niche that sells a product, let's say for $100, $200, and they have 50% or more higher margins, we're talking about a huge profit margin that you can tap into, and you can say, hey, I am charging you $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 a month for my services. If you go with smaller types of clients and niches, you're not going to be able to charge as much.
Mm. So I did a little digging around and I did a little research on you. And I know that you started off just kind of offering some services for free, or you recommend to your coaching clients to offer their services for free and get a 10% back. How long do you think that people should do that for until they feel established enough to actually start charging those $2,000 to $3,000 retainers?
All right, awesome. That's actually two questions in one. I'm going to address the first part of the question, which is working for free at the very beginning. I am the first that does not like to work for free, meaning I help people for free on my Instagram page or everywhere else with my podcast. But when it comes to client work, I'm a firm believer that you should charge what you're worth. The problem when you're starting out is that a lot of people think they're worth a lot when they don't really have any case studies, any testimonials, any authority in the market at all. So in that case, that's when I tell my clients, if your calendar is free, that slot, that 1 hour, 2 hour slot, 3 hour slot is actually worth $0. It's not worth even $50. So that's what I say. When you're starting out, make sure to do as much work for free as possible in exchange for a review or a testimonial. This has to be on a contract. Make sure to write a pro bono contract saying the fees for Facebook marketing or Google advertising, whatever it is, would be $1,400, $1,000, whatever it is, but I'm offering it for free for 2 months in exchange for a review or a testimonial. Once you do that with 4, 5, 6 clients, you'll soon realize that your website will be filled with people that are saying amazing things about you. Of course, you do need to do a good job, but after a few months, you'll have those testimonials, those reviews, and that's when you can start charging money. Now, going back to the other part of the question that you were asking about the 10%, I think that the revenue share model, 10% of sales, is actually something that is super scalable. I'm going to give you an example. One of my clients that I work with just a few months ago, but even right now, they're selling anywhere between 200K to 300K sometimes. Just last month, they sold 80K, and they take 10%. So when we're talking about 10%, I'm talking one client bringing in 20 grand, 30 grand a month. So if I was stuck on a 3K retainer, I wouldn't do anything else, right? That's basically how much I get paid. So when we talk about revenue share model, we don't think about the fact that it could really scale big. So the way that I like to do it is this. If you have a client that needs a lot of work up front and that won't scale very fast, I would stick to a 1,500 to 3,000 retainer, depending on what you're offering, and then offer maybe a 10% of revenue share down the road. But if someone is ready to scale, have already done ads before, they've already been successful, they just need your expertise to grow bigger, I would be more than comfortable going in at a 10% of total sales, because you know that within 30 days you'll make a lot more than $2,000 to $3,000.
Yeah. And so I guess the moral of the story is don't be afraid to go for the medium to the big fish. And it's funny, I actually have a story where that kind of happened to me. I remember I was doing fairy tale portraits and I was working with children, and I would be going to, the smaller businesses around the neighborhood and kind of, doing some joint venture stuff with them. And then just for the sake of it, I decided to go into Toys R Us. And I thought, let me just do this. Like, they're probably going to say no, but why not just give it a shot, right? Lo and behold, they actually decided to partner with me.
Wow.
Not only that, they actually let me display my work in any of their events. They just said, you know what, just bring your booth, bring your portraits, they didn't even charge me.
Wow.
So it was unbelievable. So that's the thing. Don't be afraid to go for the big fish, right?
100%, 100%. And, once you start working with the big fish, believe it or not, but the relationship is also going to be easier, like I said, than if you were working with a, solopreneur that doesn't even know how to pay their own bills, right?
That's true. And maybe they won't have it properly set up on the website, to do those proper conversions. So for example, let's say it's a service-based business, right? Like, let's say you're working with maybe a dentist or something like that. The conversion is not going to be exact. So that's kind of the type of business that you might just have to trust that they'll pay you the proper amount, correct?
Yeah.
So would you say to stay away from those businesses and only really work with the ones that are selling something on the website?
Well, here's the thing. For other types of businesses, like I specialize in e-commerce and I love e-commerce because that's where I flourished even before I had the agency. I've been a successful Amazon seller for a long time, and I used to work for Shopify. Now, with that said, if you are working with a dentist or a lawyer or any other type of business that requires leads instead of sales, you can sit down with them ahead of time and talk about their sales process. And the questions that I would ask, one of them would be, okay, Mrs. Customer, out of 10 calls that I will send you, on average, how many do you think you will be able to close and turn into customers? So they will tell you, my, yearly average has been 30%. And then you would ask, okay, how much is one client worth to you once you actually close them? And they will tell you maybe 1,000, 2,000 on average. Okay, perfect. So we do the math now. We know that if I send you 10 leads at 30% close rate, you would close 3 clients. And since each client is worth you $1,000, I can tell you that I will charge you, a certain amount per lead. So at the end of the month, same exact story. Instead of tracking conversions on Google and Facebook ads, you will conversions meaning sales. You will still track conversions, but the conversions now are not the actual sales, is how many people have filled out a form, how many people booked a call, or anything along those lines.
Mm-hmm. Now, there's some people saying that Facebook ads just don't work. So what do you have to say about that?
All right. I have to say that Facebook ads, doing Facebook ads in a very basic way does not work. I agree with you 100%. If you go and boost a post like Facebook tells you to do, it's not going to work. Unfortunately, it's not going to work. But it's not because of Facebook. It's because of the competition that is using Facebook ads at 10 times your level. And when, like I'm going to give you an example right now. If you walk into an NBA game and you grab a ball and there's all other NBA players there playing their game, and you just go there and like you try and score, guess what's going to happen? You're going to get destroyed. You're not going to win. Right? So it's the same exact thing. Facebook hands you over the basketball and it tells you go to the court and play, but go to the court and play does not mean you're going to win. It just means now you've got a ton of other people that know how to do this thing much, much better than you. So going back to it, Facebook ads works very, very well, but you need to master it. Or if you want to just be an agency owner, you can hire people that already mastered it, and you can be the manager of your team, knowing, of course, the KPI, so the key performance indicators. You need to know that stuff. You need to know how to monitor performance in your team. But once you know how to do that, you can hire someone to do that, or you take a course online, you master it, you do a lot of exercises. You don't even need big budgets. Once you understand, the different things like how campaigns work, how ad sets work, how split testing works, copy, the funnel structure and all that stuff. Once you understand it, then it's time for you to go play. Before that, just do some exercises, like I said, but don't go in with a full budget expecting amazing results if you just do the basics.
Hmm. Now, tell me if I'm wrong in terms of, because sometimes people get it confused. So let's just kind of clarify. The difference between a digital marketing agency and social media management is very different. So, my understanding and, from everything that I've gathered is that the digital marketing agency is basically ads. So making sure that you have the right copy, the right images, that the ads are performing, versus social media management is more for brand awareness, constantly posting, content marketing, that type of thing. Would you say that's correct?
Correct. So digital marketing, it's basically marketing in the digital world, which means, again, Facebook ads, Google ads, Pinterest ads, anything that has to do with ads, we take care of. Now, some digital marketing agency only focus on Facebook ads. Some of them only focus on Google ads. But generally speaking, a type of digital advertising is run by digital marketing agency. Whereas when we're talking about social media management, we're basically talking about companies that could easily say, okay, I'm charging you $1,000 for 30 posts on LinkedIn and Facebook or whatever on Instagram. And, personally, I do believe that it's easier to retain a client when you're doing social media management, because people don't expect amazing results with just a few posts on LinkedIn or Facebook. But of course, digital marketing is a lot more lucrative because you can scale to certain results. Like, when you get your first 25K, 30K invoices paid for 1 month of work from one client, that would never happen if you were just running social media management for someone.
Cool. And finally, what would you say are your top 3 secrets to being successful in owning your own digital marketing agency?
Well, successful. So the first secret is to spend 80% of your time doing sales until you get to the level that you want to be at. So if your goal is to own a business that's making, let's say, 40 grand a month, don't do less than 80% of your day in sales. Like, if your day is 9 to 5, I generally wake up at like before 6, and I'm already working at 6 a.m. And I generally work up to probably like 6 p.m. So I do 12-hour days right now. A lot of it is content creation, but before, when I was scaling my agency, between 6 a.m. and about 3 p.m., I was just doing sales, outreach. Then once I got to the level when I said, you know what, I'm very happy with the amount of money that I'm making with the agency, I've kind of slowed down with sales, and now I do content creation for my coaching. So that's number one. Spend a majority of your time into acquiring new clients, because clients will not come to you out of nowhere. Okay, so the first thing. Now, let's talk about keeping the clients. You need to create processes. Because once you start hiring people, and trust me, you will need to hire people, because an agency is different than a freelancer, because an agency is a group of people, right? So once you have an agency, you need to create processes, even if you're alone, because once you start hiring the digital marketing expert for Facebook, then Google, then someone else that creates copy for you, then someone else that does the sales, lead generation, whatever it is, you cannot possibly teach every single little thing to them in person or over Zoom. You have to have training guides. You have to have processes where you say, well, if you don't know this, refer back to that. So you don't have to always be there for them and micromanage everyone. So processes, that's the first, is sales. Second, processes. The third thing is to really get good at understanding where the money is at. Meaning, you could have a team running Facebook ads and Google ads and knowing exactly how to create those ads, but you are still the top person in the business, and you need to have the right angles. For example, I know that during COVID-19, new types of businesses would just blow up. For example, online universities and all that great stuff. So the first thing that I did as an agency owner, I contacted my lead generation team and I said, stop selling. It's funny because we were trying to sell, we were selling tourism businesses before COVID-19. So literally, like, as soon as I saw planes stopped flying and all this stuff, and I'm like, like, pivot right away. I changed the outlook on what was going to happen. So we started working with online education businesses. And that's why we never skipped a beat. We went straight into a completely different niche, found a new angle, and started selling again. So again, you got to be very good at sales. You got to be very good at creating systems, and you got to be very good at understanding marketing at large, because at the end of the day, digital marketing is still marketing.
So if the viewers have any questions, just leave your questions in the comments below, and I'll have Daniero answer them for the first 48 hours. And keep commenting, keep liking, and remember to subscribe. Again, thank you, Daniero, for being here.
No problem. Thanks a lot. See you later.